Everybody, Justin Recla with another episode of Incorporating SuperPowers, where we interview people that are doing good in the world, people that are challenging the status quo, people who have been calling, who've had their awakening, who know that there's a better way of doing business. And our guest today is somebody that's been doing that for the last 10, 20 years, actually, in helping people. My guest today is Jane Bishop. And we're going to be talking about growing forward and what that looks like for you as a business owner. Jane, welcome to the show.
Oh, thanks, Justin. I'm excited to be here. Thank you for the honor to have this conversation with you.
No, these are the kinds of conversations that I really enjoy because these are the conversations that not everybody's willing to stop and have.
Yes.
And I think you'd probably agree with me that if more people stopped and had this kind of conversation, this level of conversation in the realm of which you work, right? And I'm very familiar with them, very similar, still do the similar type of work, is that if more people did that, they would find that they would actually get farther, faster. So talk to me about growing forward.
Yes. Well, Justin, I agree with you wholeheartedly. If we could just get more people to stop. And I think the barrier with a lot of people is they think stop means they're not accomplishing anything. And actually, how we grow forward is we stop where we are. We take an assessment and become very aware, of our surroundings, where we are, how we can connect, how we can align, and then move forward. It doesn't have to be a large quantity of time to stop. It could be simply, a 60-second stop. It could be an hour stop. But it's the stopping that's key to growing forward. I like to think of growing forward as closing that gap between where you want to be and continue to be the best you can be and where you are. And
I absolutely love that. In my terminology, it would be where you're at.
Yes.
Be solid in where you're at and understand that what you're working on, what you're taking steps towards can only happen if you're solid with where you're at.
Yes. And there's so much, in our current culture. I love the technology and I love all the things that are at our fingertips. The downside of that can be, though, is when that's all we're experiencing, just taking it, and not allowing time to again, stop and process and be present where you are, be mindful. It makes a huge difference. It makes a huge difference.
A huge difference because you stop and realize that oftentimes that you in your mind are already 15 steps ahead because you're planning out for what's to come, but you're not being where you're at in the moment now. So then it creates this vicious cycle of you actually don't get anything done.
Yes. Two things that come to mind. One, I love to, when I meet people, especially in gatherings, in groups, or in general, anywhere, I love to ask them, what's a win from your day today that I can celebrate with you? And 9 times out of 10, actually 9.9 times out of 10, I get this frozen look because they haven't given themselves time to reflect, oh, well, what is a win? And sometimes they'll go ahead and think of something and then we'll celebrate together. And it's just, in fact, I've got one client now that she goes home to her husband and she's been talking with him about it. So now they ask each other at the end of the day, what's your win for the day? So it's kind of multiplied, And
that right there is so valuable, folks. Listen to what Jane's saying here is that if you're so busy, caught up in your tasks or your work or your job or whatnot, and you haven't stopped to reflect upon the little things, and maybe it's a big thing, who knows? But if you don't take time to stop to reflect and hold yourself in appreciation for that experience and in gratitude for the fact that it happened, the likelihood of it happening more frequently decreases because oftentimes what Jane's talking about here, folks, is that most people are not staying present they're too focused on the future, or more often than not, worried about what happened more than 10 seconds ago, and they're living in the past.
The second thing that came to mind flows right in with that, Justin. Again, a recent client, I have this technique that I call 10-minute brain breaks. And she was feeling overwhelmed, and through a series of sessions, she finally got that when she has a full schedule, and we use full, not busy, but a full day, between each segment or between each task, she took 10-minute brain breaks.
Oh.
And the very next session after she had been practicing that for a week, this was her exact words. Jane, it has allowed me to do more. Do it more effectively. Well, I'm on the other side of the phone going, ding, 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 ding. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a winner. That's huge.
It's just getting to that place of being able to pause and reflect. I know, as people that are trying to bridge the gap between becoming, leaving employment and stepping into entrepreneurship, or whether they just be full-fledged business owners, they've been at it long enough now. Their success will only get them so far. Their aptitude will only get them so far.
Yes.
And if we don't stop and refresh, unplug and unwind throughout the day, even, first and foremost, I'm going to challenge you folks to this, is if that's you and you're an entrepreneur, you're doing it wrong.
Yes.
Because we all became entrepreneurs and business owners to free up our own time. And so if anything, what take away from Jane here is stop at least 10 minutes between tasks. Let your brain reset, get refreshed, reflect upon what you just accomplished, whatever it might be. These are huge, huge tips that Jane's dumping on you here, that if you take into effect will change your life. Jane, this is super fun. I want to dive down this rabbit hole a little bit more, a little forward, because I know you got a program called coming out, hence Growing Forward. But where can our listeners go find out more information about you?
They can find me at janebishop.live.
janebishop.live. We're talking to Jane about Growing Forward. And when we get back from this commercial break, we're going to go down the rabbit hole a little bit further as to what that exactly means and how you can use some of the concepts that Jane's talking about to help improve your life. So stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Are you an entrepreneur who speaks at conferences? Have you attended a conference and seen someone on stage you know is guilty of bad business practices? If you want to stand out from the crowd and give your prospective clients peace of mind, then make sure your business is in the Clear Directory. All of our members operate in transparency and are screened annually for frauds and scams. Stand out from the crowd and get in the Clear Directory. Visit clearbusinessdirectory.com/join to sign up today.
All right, welcome back to Incorporating SuperPowers. I'm your host, Justin Recla, and I've got Jane Bishop with me today. Jane and I met at a business conference, and we've known each other now, I think, for a couple of years, year and a half or so. I don't know exactly how long it's been, but
you know how time is.
Yeah, exactly. And we obviously we gravitate towards the same types of energies, the same types of conversations. This is why I was super excited to have Jane on the show, is that she's talking about the things that really, when you peel back the layers of the onion of your business, of your life, the things that Jane's talking about, the things that she helps her clients with, is just that. It's what is the most important. It's at the center of what most of our problems are. And if you can get down some of the stuff that Jane's sharing with us today and implement these things in your life, watch out, watch what unfolds. And if you're so bold, pick up the phone, reach out to Jane, see what she has to offer. And if it's a fit, make it happen. So Jane, we're talking about growing forward. What does that exactly mean for you and for business owners, for entrepreneurs, or people that are just struggling with employment or day-to-day life? How can they grow forward with everything that they're doing?
Well, it starts with awareness. It's the awareness that they are valuable and that they are worth the investment. I find with a lot of entrepreneurs that what they do is they jump in and dive into their business and they make all the necessary investments to build the business, develop the business, market the business, deliver the business, and yet somewhere they get left by the wayside, as a person and as an individual, because they don't think they're valuable enough. So that awareness is the first step of growing forward. Then after they have that, kind of the next step or the next piece of the puzzle is then they've got to assess where they are. Now that assessment could be talking with a trusted colleague, a confidant. It could be completing, there's a ton of self-awareness assessments available, but really understanding why they are where they are. In terms of if they don't do well in speaking with customers, well, is that a confidence issue? Or is that an introvert issue, personality? What is it? So aware and assess. And then they have to ask the questions. Okay, how did I get here? And what can I do? What kind of help do I need? What kind of resources? It could be working with you, Justin. Could be working with me. Could be working with somebody else. But really finding, where that fit is.
I love what you said there, and folks, this is the key to this right here. The biggest takeaway from the point that Jane made is that you can't do it by yourself.
Right.
Because when you are in a box, which is often where we find ourselves in a box, you as the observer are only seeing things through the lens of your own experiences, through your own filters, because you're in the box and you can't see anything else. And so whether it's a friend, whether it's a coach, whether it's Jane, it doesn't matter. The point is get some different perspectives, get some different tools. Jane's got tools to give you the perspectives that you need to see outside of that box. That right there is one of the most valuable pieces of information that you take away anything from this is that, one, you can't do it alone. We're not designed to do it alone, and you'll go a lot farther when you're working with people. So Jane, what are some of the biggest blocks that you see entrepreneurs, business owners, or people that are transitioning from employment into business? What are some of the biggest blocks and resistances that you see that they have?
Well, in addition to not valuing themselves, and thinking, kind of that word. And by the way, that's men and women. It's not really gender specific. That's universal. But the second block is, especially somebody that is transitioning, say, out of corporate and want to start their own business, or somebody who has started their own business, they try everything. They read, they see something trend, they grab it. They hear somebody doing something, they grab it. And what they have done is they have expended a lot of energy, emotionally and otherwise, and intellect, and oftentimes a lot of finances, and yet none of what they are grabbing aligns with who they are and where they want to go. So it's almost like a jigsaw puzzle where you're getting pieces of another puzzle and trying to fit it in yours. So one of my passions and one of my advocacies with people is helping them to have the courage to stand and align with who they are, so they're very clear about that, and then when they reach for a piece, it fits with their business. So those are the two things that are most common, the not valuing themselves, and then just grabbing at anything and everything, whether it aligns with themselves personally or their business plan or not. I'm sure you've not experienced that at all.
Not at all. It's funny. I mean, I think the thousands of clients that we've worked with over the last 8-9 years, that's one of the biggest stories that we see is we see people going from one coach to another program, to another program, to this Tony Robbins event, to that event, to this event, right, and that event. And they're doing nothing but throw a lot of money at an event to go into an environment where it makes them feel good, and it carries them forward, and they become these feel-good junkies, but inside they're not doing any work. And folks, it is work. You have to want to change. You have to want to evolve. You have to want to be able to look at the box and do the work.
Yes.
I'm not saying that coaches and platform. I'm not saying that doesn't work. I'm not saying that, but you have to take the information from those events. You have to take the information from those mentors, and you have to dive in, and you got to go in before you can go up.
Exactly.
And you have to stop the pattern, and that really comes down to, one, your desire to work with somebody, and two, take ownership of the work and guidance that they're giving you. And that's what Jane does. Jane holds you accountable to what you intrinsically already know, but she's shining a light on it so you can follow the path and get out of your own way. Jane, talk to me about how do you like to work with clients? What is your preferred method, and how do you work with people? What does your ideal client look like? Maybe we can see, the list of people that are listening here, they can find it and resonate what that looks like for them, and they can reach out to you. We'll talk. What does that look like for you?
Well, my preferred method of working with clients, just by the nature of the world we live in, is most of the time virtually, either phone or Zoom. Typically, when I'm in a coaching situation, it happens that way. I do have a few local clients, and we do meet in person. But with my training, I deliver that, virtually as well. But then I work with businesses and do on-site training. So, I'm flexible because what I want to do, Justin, is have the opportunity to challenge people to disrupt their thinking so that they will grow forward and be more fulfilled and more effective. In terms of an ideal client, I have to tell you that is always a hard description for me. All those that are listening, we hear ideal client, what's your niche, what's your target audience? Well, for better or worse, my ideal client is someone who really is not satisfied with where they are and wants to invest the time and the dollars to grow forward and be the best they can be. That's not for everybody. That is not for everybody, because like you said, Justin, we go to all these seminars, these trainings, these programs, and we feel good and our emotional centers get going, and then we let it sit there in our emotional center and we never move it forward to action. So if you love to sit around and commiserate and never take any action, you are not my ideal client.
So you heard it there, folks.
Yes.
If you're not going to do the work, don't bother.
That's right. Now, and I'll tell you, I have to say this, in one of my former lives, I'm a former athletic coach, women's basketball, and an assistant coach of 2 men's basketball teams before it was popular for women to be involved in men's sports. So in training settings, I will often tell people, now folks, I used to be a coach, and this room's big enough. We can run laps if we need to get the energy flowing. The piece of that is you got to like to have a little fun too.
That ultimately, that's what it comes down to, folks. Listen, if you're listening to the show, yes, it is work. Yes, it will grow you. Yes, doing this level of, reflection and internal work and to untangle the programming of your past is work. It's challenging. If you're married, it can be even more challenging. Mm-hmm. If you've got kids, it can be even more challenging.
Yes.
This is just the nature of it, and it'll be worth it, because what lies on the other side of this level of work is huge. And at the same time, if you want to be where you're at, be where you're at and own up to that as well. And then be the best person where you're at and move forward from that place and watch what unfolds from you as well.
I'm so glad you said that, Justin, because what comes to mind is a beautiful tree that starts out as somebody planted a seed or a sapling or somewhere along the way. Different trees are different, provide different shades, but so it grows up. Yet if you don't tend to that tree, whatever its needs are, and nurture it, then it will eventually not either bear fruit or provide the shade, that sort of thing. And we have to do that with our life. So if you are good where you are and you don't want to grow anymore, great. Like you
We-
said,
we-
own that and go with that.
I call it's part of what we have a theory here at Superpower Experts called elevator theory,
Yeah.
and that you go up, you can go down, right? And, people that are evolving, they keep going up, they keep going up, they keep going up. Well, if you've gone up to a certain level, you can get off the elevator and you can build. You can build at that, and there's nothing wrong with that. I would challenge you though to say that you're always going to want more, which is beautiful because you can always get back on the elevator and continue to go up.
Well, I'm a lifelong learner. So as long as I have breath in my body, I will always be learning something, whether it's trends, what to do, what not to do. And I love to tell people, I don't know everything. But what I know well. And what I don't know, I want to learn. Because our world is changing. Our lives change. I mean, I'm not where I was 20 years ago. I would venture to say you're not where you were 20 years ago.
No.
And, and even in your, background of experience of being an Army veteran, you said before we came on the air that made you who you are today when I was thanking you for your service.
Okay.
My dad is a retired military. Being an Army dependent plays a huge part into who I am today. So all of our life experiences go into our story that we continue to write. So for those who want to continue to nurture that and dig and do the grunt work, if you so to speak, then I might be a person that we want to have a conversation with. Absolutely.
And Jane, where can our listeners go find more information about you again?
Yeah, they can find me at janebishop.live. My business name is Take the Next Step, but it gets into a whole big long thing. So we shortened it to janebishop.live for the website. And
perfect.
And people can call me. I actually do answer my phone.
Perfect. If you want to drop the number.
Yes, 404-432-2701.
There you go. You got the bat phone to Jane Bishop, folks.
The bat phone. If I'm not with the client, I will answer my phone.
Fantastic. Well, folks, if you are ready to grow forward, reach out to Jane, connect, have a conversation, see if it's a good fit. Until next time, take this conversation, continue to grow forward, get those additional perspectives, and start incorporating your own superpowers.
Yeah.
Thanks, Jane, for being on the show today.
Thanks, Justin. Appreciate the opportunity.